Hello, my name is Charles Porter, and this is 14.3 Session Plan and Session Review. So, with the Session Plan Review, we have basically the program aims, and we have the specific session aims. So, the program aims basically meaning throughout the 6-week period, after those 6 weeks, we have a certain aim, a certain goal that I want Aaron to achieve. And then specific session aims, obviously for each session he has certain aims. So if we look at the program aims, so for Aaron, basically he wants to improve his muscular strength and endurance. Basically I want him to improve that as well, to improve his basketball. And he also wants to improve his overall fitness, so his overall fitness levels, and so that in a basketball match he can be in the best possible shape. For the specific session aims then, as it's the first session with Aaron, I just want him to enjoy himself and be comfortable and around me. I basically want him to to feel as though he's succeeded something in the session. So basically I'll set a target for him as I'll talk about later on, but I'll set a target for him at each section of the session. And then I basically want him to try and succeed that. I'm also going to be finding his strengths and weaknesses, so that as the weeks progress I can change the sessions due to his strengths and weaknesses. So how are these aims specific to client aims, and how will they be measured to check for success? So basically, how are they specific? So at the beginning of the program, for the program aims, at the beginning of the program, I'll basically do some fitness testing with him, basically to see what stage he's at, and what he can improve on. So basically to see, linking with the specific session aims, basically to see his strengths and weaknesses, and what he generally needs to improve on, and what he's good at. And then at the end of the program, I'll also test him again to see how far he's come, what he's improved on, and what he's achieved. So then, now with the specific session aims, basically during the session, I'll ask Aaron to see if he's enjoying himself, basically seeing if it feels right for him, right for basically what he wants to improve on, so his muscular strength and endurance. Basically ask him to see if he thinks it's the right sort of session for him. I can also take his heart rate during, or maybe before and then afterwards. So maybe before, during, and after, so we can see his resting heart rate, we can see his working heart rate, and we can see his recovery heart rate. So basically after each session we can see them and see how far his fitness levels are improving, or maybe not so the case. So now moving on to, here we have a risk assessment. So as I mainly used so I've got two there. I've mainly used the sports hall, but I have used the fitness suite with Aaron. So obviously when using both the places, you need to complete a risk assessment so that you can basically control all the hazards that are around you. So basically here are the hazards down here. So we have the netting on the wall, we have equipment such as goals and benches, we can have how it gets overcrowded, we have litter, lighting, and windows. So let's start with the netting on the wall. So basically students are at risk from this. As Aaron plays basketball, he obviously covers quite a lot of the court. So if the netting on the wall somehow gets in the way, someone can easily run into it and injure themselves. So basically, to have the controls in place, so basically I need to tuck it neatly and make sure that it's away from the activity area. And then here we have the overall risk rating. So it's this number times this number, so the likelihood and the outcome times together equals the risk assessment. So not the risk assessment, the risk rating. So here we have likelihood of 2 and outcome of 1, so it gets an overall risk rating of 2. So the biggest one you could get, so this is out of 9. So a 2 for risk rating isn't too bad actually. So actions necessary. So yeah, so basically make sure that the students or coaches tuck it neatly away after use. So after I've done the session, I need to make sure that the nets are secure and away, but I shouldn't be using the nets, so I wouldn't have to worry about that. So basically the equipment as well, so such as goals and benches. So basically students, but also coaches could be at risk from this, but it's mainly students. So basically controls to be put in place. I need to put equipment away from activity area. Also make sure that the equipment is safe to use. So before the session starts, I need to check the equipment, basically to see if it's fully functioning, it's working well, and also just to pack everything away that I'm not using, so it doesn't get in the way and it won't cause any injuries. So then here we have the risk rating again. So we have a 1 for likelihood and 2 for outcome. As the likelihood, it's not really going to happen very much, but the outcome could be it could be more severe. So the actions necessary, basically check before the activity to make so that it's safe, and check afterwards as well. So basically check that everything's away, check that everything's neatly away I should say, and then check afterwards as well, and check before. So now moving on to overcrowded. So the sports hall can easily become overcrowded, so obviously students definitely and coaches also as well. Um, so this is more likely to happen in the fitness suite, but I've got another risk assessment to do with the fitness suite anyway. But also it can become overcrowded. There's not a lot of space in the sports hall. So basically, controls to be in place. I will state how many people can be in the hall at the time of the event or at the time of the session, and also the amount of people that are actually allowed in. So the people that should be in and the people that shouldn't be in. So the likelihood here is 1 and the outcome is 2, and then the overall risk rating is 2 out of 9. So actions necessary. Basically, make sure from the beginning that the only people in the hall are the ones that are part of the lesson or people that need to be in there. So now we've got litter. So litter can be a weird one because you can't always see litter and you don't normally notice it, and it's a very small object, but it can have a high outcome. So students and coaches are at risk from this, as it does involve coaches as well. So basically, controls to be in place. Have a food policy in and around the hall. It's basically saying no food in the hall, but maybe not even outside. Maybe not even near the hall. But you could have food outside the hall. But basically, yeah, you could suffer from maybe slipping or tripping over some litter. So while running, you might not see it and step on it and then trip. So basically, likelihood of 3, as it can be very likely that you walk into some litter and slip over. But outcomes, it won't cause that much of an injury, so the overall risk rating will be a 3. So basically, actions necessary. So make sure before and after all litter is clear. So make sure the sports hall is basically clean and clear, and also don't allow students in the hall if they have food on them. So basically, if you see someone with food on them near the hall, just let them know they can't go into the hall with food. Then we have the lighting. So basically, the lighting in the hall, it wasn't very well protected and it looked a bit dodgy. So if the ball were to hit the lightning, if something was to hit the lighting, it could cause a obviously a very bad situation. So basically, you have the netting across the roof. So basically, the netting would protect the lighting, as the netting would stop the balls from hitting them. Or basically have cages around the lights, and that would also protect them. And then also check the conditions regularly of the lights to see if they're in good shape. So the likelihood, it's very unlikely that anything that severe would happen. So I've put it as a 1, but if it did happen, it would be a really bad outcome. So I've put it as a 3. So overall risk rating of 3. So actions necessary, as I said, check on regular occasions of the conditions of the lights. to basically make sure that they're stable and they're functioning properly. And then last one for the sports hall, we have the windows. Basically on the walls of the sports hall there's windows. Students basically at risk from this, as when playing they can easily run into them, and it just easily cause them to break. So we could cage the windows up, then that could also cause injury to the students. Or cover them in netting maybe, or even change the type so that's stronger, so make the glass a stronger type so that it won't crack or it won't break and cause any cuts. So it's very unlikely, again, like the lighting, but the outcome can be very severe as it's glass, and if it breaks, it can definitely cut and it can definitely be painful. So overall risk rating of 2. And then actions necessary, basically tell the students to keep objects under control and basically be sensible while in the hall and not to mess around. So here's the second risk assessment. So this is for the fitness suite. In the fitness suite there's quite a few risk hazards as there's quite a lot of weights on the floor. So students and coaches are at risk from this. So basically we need to make sure when clearing up the space, so basically clearing up the space prior to the activity so that the client won't trip or fall or basically get injured from it. So it is quite likely, as there is quite a lot of trip hazards in the fitness suite, so obviously we need to clear that up, and then the outcome can be quite bad as well, so it's overall risk rating of 4 out of 9. So actions necessary, yeah, so basically let students know beforehand to be careful, so be careful while in the fitness suite. And then also here for another hazard we have the low ceiling. It's quite a cramped area, the fitness suite, and it's very low ceiling, so coaches and students are at risk from this, mainly because from the weights, lifting weights above head can be a no-no, but also when doing so, because you just need to be careful, as you can easily hit the roof with the weights, and it can obviously be very bad. Likelihood is it is quite unlikely, but it can happen. It definitely can happen. An outcome, it can be quite a bad outcome, as the roof could take quite a lot of damage. So I put it as 3, and then overall risk rating 3 out of 9. So actions necessary, basically tell students beforehand. Basically, if you were to lift it over your head, just tell them just to be careful if you're going to do so, or maybe if you are going to lift weights over your head, basically make them do it in another place, so like outside or in the sports hall. And also it's a very small area, so this is another hazard. So coaches and students are a hazard from this. So basically people who sort of like the sports hall, people who aren't meant to be in there should basically leave, and they shouldn't be in there. So only make sure that the people who are in the session and people who are involved can only be in there. So likelihood of it is quite likely that it's going to happen, as it's a very small and cramped area, so put that as a 2. And outcome, it can be a small outcome, not a major one, so I put it as a 1. So an overall risk rating of 2 out of 9. So explain to the students who can go in at what time and when. So obviously to do with the small area it can be overcrowded as well, so only have a low number of people in at a time, likelihood of 2, outcome of 1, and risk rating of 2 as well. So actions necessary, basically have small number of groups and tell them about the dangers of what can happen if it's overcrowded. Right, so here I have a PAR-Q that I basically gave to Aaron. So here are some of the questions that I asked him. So I asked him, are you on any medication? So basically I asked him this, as it can definitely